Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Tiger Talk. Today I'm here with OA's newest assistant principal, Daniel Mastrogiacomo. He is here today to answer a few questions for us, and of course we welcome him to the community.
Thank you.
Welcome
Excited to be here.
community. Okay, diving right in with question number one. First question is, how are things going so far?
They've been great. They've been great. I started July 1st, and working alongside Mr. Flanagan and Ms. Kavanaugh has been absolutely great. So I'm really excited. It's been a great summer, and I am really excited to get to meet kids and welcome them back.
Get going, absolutely. So what made you decide to come to OA?
So when I made the decision to move on from my previous role, I had applied to Oliver Ames based on the wonderful reputation that Easton has with its schools. When I was given the first opportunity to interview, that interview lasted about 45 minutes, and within 45 minutes I knew that this is where I wanted to be. And so I was lucky enough to be called back and offered the position, and it's been an excellent opportunity. I'm really excited.
Very cool. Next question is, what do you think separates OA from other schools?
I think a big part of it is community. The sense of community, the students I've met, the parents I've met, the community members I've met. It's just such a welcoming committee and community, and I really think that's one of the biggest selling points here.
Absolutely. So if you were to use 3 words to describe yourself, what 3 words would they be?
Oh boy.
And feel free to elaborate. I know that's kind of a constricting question.
I've always found myself to be empathetic. I try to understand a person's point of view from where they're coming from. Every person has a different story to tell. I think a lot of people would describe me as resilient. We've all faced our challenges, and something I pride myself on is just kind of pushing past those challenges and modeling that for other students and staff members. The other one I would use, and it's not a word that's used often, is curious. I'm just a learner who just keeps asking. I like to ask why. I like to figure out how things work, and I often find that if I'm not learning, I get bored very quickly.
So, in your opinion, what are the most important aspects of your job?
Relationships, both with students and staff. Everything else can be worked with, but having solid, authentic relationships, that's really why we do what we do. And if I don't have a good relationship with a student or a staff member, then I'm not going to help them reach their goals. And so my job is to support them as best I can through authentic relationships.
Excellent. So we are now just starting to heal after this unprecedented worldwide pandemic. What are your thoughts on this moving forward, and how could it affect the future of OA?
So I've always used the analogy or picture, if you will, of COVID took the world, shook it up like it was in a snow globe, and said, okay, time to refigure things out. And so, moving forward, I think it's going to be a lot of working with people and with students and with community members to really look at what worked well during COVID, and what did COVID kind of teach us about how we view education and how we connect with students. I think if we can take a step back and look at what worked and what didn't go so well, then I think the road to the future is very bright.
Sure. Now, do you envision any permanent changes due to this pandemic, or do you think we're just back to business as usual?
I think business as usual is going to look very different. I was talking with Mr. Flanagan and Ms. Kavanaugh earlier about the role that virtual meetings have had, and although not the ideal way to teach, it has opened the door for parents or guardians who might not be able to make a particular meeting, or maybe it's parent conferences. So the ability to offer both in-person and virtual meetings, for instance, I think that's something that might stick around for a while. I think we've all realized that online learning is not what's best for all students. Yep, and it's definitely not what's best for teachers too. So I don't know that back to normal will really be normal, but I think we're starting to at least head in the direction of things that were working, I think, are starting to come back little pieces by pieces.
Sure. What school event or events do you look forward to the most, and why?
So one of the things that I've been hearing a lot about is the hall decorating in November, right before Thanksgiving. So I am looking forward to that. And really the reason is everything that I've heard about it, and just from what I've read about it, it is a awesome way for the community to come together as a single unit. So I'm really looking forward to that, and really just seeing what this community is all about and seeing it on display in full fashion.
You could just briefly tell us about your history in education.
Sure. So most recently I did 4 years as assistant principal at Hull High School. Hull's a rather small community, so the size of the high school itself was about 250 kids. Prior to that, I was a math teacher at Whitman Hanson High School, school of a similar size to Oliver Ames. And I did about 10 years there teaching math, and I loved it. That's where I did all my interning for my administrative license. And so I've taken a lot of what I've learned from both schools and really helped shape who I am now as a...
Awesome. So what are your thoughts about student discipline / recognition?
So I have always been of the mindset, both as a teacher and as an administrator, that one size does not fit all. You know, we have a handbook, we have a code of conduct to help guide how things might be handled. I am very much someone who follows progressive discipline, but and I alluded to it earlier, where every student has a story to tell, and there's almost always a reason behind the behavior. So I really work to understand, okay, what led up to that behavior, knowing that everybody's going to make mistakes. On the flip side, student recognition, I love being able to call home and say, hey, Johnny did this today, I was so proud, or Susie did this today. Just really giving students that opportunity to say, I'm not someone who's, I don't want to be the face of discipline, I want to be the face of Oliver Ames. And sure, that will include discipline, but it most certainly will recognize students as well. Yeah. And oftentimes it's the little things, that students don't think we're picking up on. Absolutely. And when it's recognized, it means the world to them, and I love that. It means the world to me.
So what goals do you think should be most important to students?
Learning what they're curious about. Every student is going to like something different, and so identifying what makes them curious and then taking that curiosity and going with it. Really latching onto that curiosity and looking for ways to learn more about whatever it might be. As a high school student, I was always amazed by the weather. I still am. And so I did a lot to learn about that. Now one of my side passions is photography, and really trying to understand all the different parts of photography that go into it. So my advice to students would be to find that thing that makes them curious and go with it and see where it leads them. It'll open many doors if they allow that curiosity to really just develop into something further.
And I didn't know you were in photography. You've got to come down and check out the class. We have a good time.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
So what goals do you have, and what are your visions, short-term, long-term?
Sure. So this year it's going to be a lot of learning about the culture of Oliver Ames, and as I mentioned, developing relationships with students and staff, parents and guardians. So really just kind of taking it all in. But one of my other, a vision of mine is really working with the administrative team, the leadership team, to make sure that every student in Oliver Ames feels heard, feels supported, has somebody that they can go to. I really believe that every student needs that relationship. And so if there are students that don't necessarily have that relationship yet, I'd want to meet with them and understand what are they looking for and how can we help foster those relationships further.
So being able to connect with the community and your students is obviously an important thing to do. What ways do you have available? What avenues can people pursue to connect with you, whether it's the parents, guardians, people in the community, or even the student body?
So I'm on Twitter. I've been tweeting things out left and right. So if you are on Twitter, Mastro_OAHS is my handle. Email is definitely an easy way to get in touch with me. My door is always open. I always tell students that if I can't meet with them right then and there, I will follow up by the end of the day to find out what I could do to help them. And the same goes for parents and guardians. If somebody wants to come in for a conversation or if they would like me to call them, I'm open to that. I never want somebody to feel like they can't approach me for whatever the reason might be.
So if you could get an audience with the student body, what would you like to say to them?
Come and say hi. Don't be afraid to introduce yourself. There are 1,100 students in the building. It's going to take me a little while, but I want students to introduce themselves. I want to know who they are, and I'd really like to know something about them, whether it's a sport, an activity, a club, whatever it is that they would like me to know. That's how those relationships are going to grow to the next level.
Excellent. And same question for families, parents, guardians, and the community as a whole. What would you like to say to them?
I am super excited to be here. Everything about Easton so far has been everything I've heard. Super supportive community. We're here for each other. It's just, I could not describe any better than to just say I'm really jazzed to be here. And that seems to be my word for the summer is jazzed. I'm really excited, really looking forward to working with everybody in the community.
And one last fun question, your favorite cafeteria food?
I'll be honest, I like wraps, or sandwiches. So probably a turkey sandwich or a turkey wrap. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming down and spending the time with us answering these questions. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you in the OA community, and welcome aboard.